Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, everyone. Excited to have you here. Untitled with Kendall Valenzuela, Amanda, aka Cooterdoodle, here again with you. And yeah, you can still continue leaving comments for our name because we're still Untitled, Amanda. But we're just gonna roll with it. I think at this point we just have to. That's just our name, and we're gonna stick with it. How you doing?
After this week, I think it's going to be called Crashing Out with Cooterdoodle, and then you'll just be like the calm presence on the side because we've got some topics today, and I think I might crash out. It's
But
not
you're a
looking
Broncos
good.
fan now, right? You're a Broncos. Did you ever get that
Right.
jersey?
Right. I did get a Broncos t-shirt, so I'm ready. I've got some orange in my home. Maybe the gold is
Perfect.
shifting, We're changing color palettes. But after
We can't crash
today,
out. It's okay. Everything's
oh,
gonna be
no.
okay. Okay?
Is
Question
it
mark?
okay?
I don't
It's
know.
not
I
good,
don't know.
Kendall. It's not
How are
good.
you? How will you be watching? We're less than a week away from the NFL draft. How are you going to be watching the NFL draft? Like, are you going to be in a dark room, like go full Aaron Rodgers, like darkness
You
retreat,
know,
have like like fluffy pillow, some water? What are you doing?
I do. I think I'm gonna have all three of my Rashid Shaheed jerseys to like as a comfort blanket over me, and no matter what happens, I'm just gonna remind myself that it's been worse. We'll make it through. How
Words to
about
live
you?
by. Words to live by. Listen, I'm just going to sit there, and when the Seahawks don't draft an offensive lineman, I'm going to say, yep, cool. And I'm just going to look at Sam Darnold and say, well, I hope you're okay, because he probably won't be. And then I'll look and I'll remind myself we also have Marquez Valdez-Scantling on the roster, and I'll cry a little bit, but that'll be okay. Everything's going to be fine. Your situation is way
Ugh.
worse. And that's
Ugh.
something that we can actually, I'm sorry, I had to go there. That's something we can actually get into right now, though, because it's time for Did You Hear, presented by Bud Light. All right, Amanda. This is one where I just have to start because I need to know. First of all, I know you've heard. I know you've heard about the Derek Carr injury. So this is just where we have to start the show off. So not only does Derek Carr have a shoulder injury, that everything that people have been putting out there is that his status for 2025 season is kind of in doubt. And they also said that everything is on the table for Derek Carr, including a shoulder surgery. So this is a little bit different than he had the oblique injury last season. He had the sprained non-throwing hand as well. But this is totally different. So it was week 14 against the Giants. We haven't seen him since then. So I'm curious with all the rumors, but starting with Derek Carr, how are you doing? How are you doing? And did you hear about this?
It's not even just the injury at this point. It's the entire narrative. It's like that little boy on Snoopy where he had that little fog around him, the stink. I just feel like that's how it feels to be a Saints fan because you have his injury that was a huge surprise, allegedly a week ago. And then the tides have shifted. No. It's been lingering. We've known about it. It's all fine. Don't even worry. But then at the same time, Derek Carr's now on YouTube making Carr videos. And if you go on Twitter and look at Saints Twitter, there's a lot of no words being thrown around that I cannot say because I don't think the budget would allow me to say them and bleep it out. But it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And so at this point, I need to know, one, is Carr actually hurt? Has it been lingering? Why was it not addressed in the offseason? And then if you think that it is a lie, which Kendall, I don't know at this point what your vibes are, but everything I'm reading in my biased little Saints corner is that it might be a fib and something that is pointing to the fact that Carr doesn't want to be here and be a bridge quarterback. And so I'm very nervous and I don't like the drama in the locker room. And I think that we're going into yet another season with so many question marks. First of all, do you believe it? Do you think he's hurt?
Well, I did, and now, but I also just I believe a lot of things that people tell me. So, but I did read that, right? That he was unhappy with being a bridge quarterback. But what did I thought that was the expectation all along. When you brought him in, did you ever say to yourself, yeah, that's finally it. We've got Derek Carr. He's going to take us to a Super Bowl. I never thought that with Derek Carr, and he's got 2 years remaining on his deal. I know that he never, because he came out and he said, I don't want to take a pay cut. I remember that very clearly because you guys were up every single year up against the cap, but he said, I'm not going to take a pay cut. So he's got 2 years remaining on the contract that he signed in 2023. So I always thought he was going to be a bridge quarterback, maybe just to himself. He didn't think that. Like, either way, to me, Derek Carr or maybe a rookie quarterback, I still don't think you're one quarterback away from contending, right? Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and speaking of cap, we don't have a lot of wiggle room with Carr. I mean, we have this
No.
money, but we're taking cap hits regardless of what we do, whether it's before June 1st or after. So at this point, I don't know how we're going to handle it. The Saints always seem to get us out of these like cap troubles, but I'm very nervous. I'm very nervous because you need somebody who's going to lead the room. And it hasn't been since week 2 in 2024 when we thought that we could go to the Super Bowl with Derek Carr for those short 2 weeks,
Sure. It was a good 2 weeks though. Oh my gosh. I was so excited. I was like, oh, here we go. Everything's going to work out. All your Rashid Shaheed shares are going to cash in. It was great. So I want to start like we're going to go a little bit longer here because this one is really interesting. There's a lot of different directions that the team can go. We're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about the guys that are already on your depth chart. Can I start with the worst case scenario so we can just get it out of the way? Because I have to ask you, Aaron Rodgers is still out there. And that is a veteran quarterback presence that maybe they're going to think about and say, well, we need him. What do you think?
Okay. What do I think? First of all, that solves nothing because he would be just another bridge quarterback, right? We would have more drama marinating in the locker room. And you know what? At this point, I want to invite everyone because if that happens, we're going to attend my fan funeral, okay? This might be the last time that I wear this hat. So I just want everyone to know, just imagine, I don't know if the producers can do this, if we're cutting black and white, there's somber music playing. We gather here today, Kendall, in memory of me, a lifetime Saints fan, okay? After years of wearing black and gold, years of Who Dat chants, standing in the Superdome, we know I invest in jerseys. The no call against the Rams, all these injuries in 2024. If Derek Carr is lying about his injury, number one, and we keep him on the roster, if our locker room continues to rot from the inside out, and if Aaron Rodgers steps in, I have perished and died. It is done. The hats will come off. And all I can say is, please, to save me, bring Jameis Winston back. Bring Jameis Winston back, Kendall. That's all I need. It'll turn around on just like a huge heel turn, and that will bring me back. I will be happy again. Imagine the locker room. Imagine the post-game interviews. We know that he loves to get his teammates rallied up. We saw the Jamal Williams touchdown whenever he wasn't supposed to do it that one time. So that's it. It's either it's funeral or bring Jameis back, and I'm all in. That's really where I'm at, Kendall.
That was I will let everyone know who's only listening. You are in black and white now. And it was a great funeral. I think it was great. The people need to know. The people need to know who to follow, and that is you. And now you have a Broncos jersey, so it's okay. Mm-hmm. You have a new team. I'm sorry. I had to bring up Aaron Rodgers. I had to.
Yes. But you can't truly believe that that's the solution, right?
No.
That's not the Band-Aid.
Hell no. No, that'd be awful. That would actually be worst case scenario, and I'd feel really bad for you. To be told, I don't feel bad yet because I'm like, oh, it's Derek Carr, and he's sometimes a little bit of a drama queen, but that's fine. It's Derek Carr. What about shifting over to the draft? What about that? Now all the rumors are Shedeur Sanders, which again, if we think that Cam Ward goes number 1 overall, and I did a mock draft just a couple days ago with Thor and Emery, and he actually had Shedeur Sanders going 1 to the Tennessee Titans, which not to say that that's going to happen, but maybe some people look at their consensus QBs and have him number 1. I don't know. But what do you think about Shedeur Sanders? Because I kind of like the fit. I like the fit with the new head coach, offensive minded in Kellen Moore. I think you guys have enough weapons for him to be successful, but I kind of like it. And I'm curious what you think if Shedeur was your quarterback for 2025.
I'm a simple girl. I want everyone within the locker room to be happy, and I just want touchdowns to Rashid Shaheed. And I think that can happen with him. So, yeah, let's do it. If Carr doesn't want to be here, then let's let him go be free and run in the field somewhere else. And then we'll get a new quarterback, and we'll get some touchdowns. That's all I need.
Perfect. And I'm sorry about Jameis Winston to the Giants. Let's just maybe next year, though. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
All right. Let's move on. Are you ready?
Take it off. Yep. I'm ready.
Okay. Did you hear about Joe Flacco returning to the Browns, Kendall? We know that Deshaun Watson is set to miss plenty of time in 2025, but he didn't even look good on the team when he was healthy. So now we've got a quarterback room with Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco. What are your thoughts here? Is he going to start?
Oh my gosh. I don't hate the idea of him starting, but that's because I'm biased. And I remember his 2023 comeback player of the year season. And we were pumped when he went in there and he elevated more specifically, David Njoku had the time of his life when Joe Flacco was there. And he was kind of a fantasy winner at the end. So contract can be worth up to, I believe it's 13 million with incentives, but it's a 1-year, $4 million deal. So if I'm looking at the money, I'm saying to myself, all right, they're not necessarily married to Joe Flacco. They're not saying that he is a starter with this money. So I do believe that maybe it's a competition between those two. And I still do think that they go into the NFL draft and they take someone with them. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be a Shedeur Sanders. That was the guy that they were mocked to a lot, though, like just a couple months ago. And that has totally changed. Now they're saying, hey, they really want Travis Hunter. So maybe it's not, in the realm of Shedeur Sanders, but there's still, Jalen Milrose out there. There's Jackson Darts. There's Tyler Shucks. So there are other quarterbacks that are obviously going to not necessarily be the answer. And they're going to be a little bit of a project. But Joe Flacco starting, I could see it. It doesn't make me upset, even though he didn't have the best season last year when he was with the Colts. But I don't know, if we get the Browns version of Joe Flacco, 2023 award winner, I'm okay with it for fantasy football purposes. What about you?
I would agree. And look, Flacco's even said that he doesn't want to be just a mentor. So I like a good quarterback battle, and I hope he could win it. We could see these other rookies come in, maybe some second round, third round rookie gets drafted as quarterback and they have some time to develop. It's weird to say maybe develop under Flacco, but it could be worse. I think it could be worse.
It's just a time loop. We're just like, oh, Joe Flacco's back. Now he's relevant again. And it's just one of those things where it's just so weird. But Joe Flacco, welcome to the Cleveland Browns. Hopefully it goes well for you there. All right. Did you hear? I'm so excited for that. Did you hear Kyler Murray said he wants to run more in 2025. And I'm just here to say, Amanda, as someone that just admitted that whenever someone says something, I usually believe them, I'm back in. So I got it. I have to know. He said last year, here are the 2 bullet points. He said that last year his knee was still bothering him during the season. So that kind of limited his mobility. Then he said, hey, I do want to run more. This offense needs to run through me a little bit more. So can you my whole goal this offseason is to get you back on the Kyler Murray train. Could this do it?
I mean, if you look at his stats, let's say ideal world, he's healthy, he is going to run more. If you look at his stats from last season, of his top 5 quarterback finishes, 3 of those were ones where he had some rushing touchdowns, right? So we see that he does perform better if he's going to start running. And then of his 5 QB 20 or worse finishes, all 5 of those, he had less than 15 rushing yards. So that really is the precipice of is he going to be a quarterback that we can use in fantasy or not? He has to be on his feet. And Kendall, for me, all I could think was, okay, am I going to draft Kyler Murray again? The only way, and I hate to say this because I do have hope for him, is I would have to walk through the elevator like in Severance and forget all of those weeks last year. You would have to literally erase from my memory week 4 when he had 9 points and he was QB 24, week 6 when he had 11 points, week 9 when he had 4 points and he was QB 30. All of those, just pull them out of my memory and then I'm back in. That's what it's going to take for me.
I can see my innie if they're telling about, the Audi and they're like, your Audi likes to draft Kyler Murray in fantasy. And they're probably like, oh my God, hate it. But that's okay because I'm back in. But I understand because it's just been so QB 12 finish though last season. That's kind of where he was being drafted anyway. Sometimes I've seen the price already, Amanda, where it's just QB 8, I was in a draft just a couple nights ago where I was like, ooh, okay, that might be a little bit steep. But if I can still see him around, 10, 11, if people are really pushing him down still at QB 12, I might be back in. But you already knew that. You knew I wasn't going to be
he has to run, Kendall. He has to run for it to work.
He has to run for it to work. And Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know. Need to get who were the 2? They need to get breakfast or they need a book club. I don't remember who did the book club, but someone did a book club and it worked. Oh, no. Was it the Rams?
Because Rams or breakfast club, yeah.
Club and they put all of a sudden Puka was like, yeah, I get breakfast with Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp all the time. And I was like, well, if we knew that information, we would have been drafting you more. But someone did a book club. I don't know what they need to do, but Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr., you guys need to do that. So there we go. That was Did You Hear, presented by Bud Light. Okay, fantasy football fans, sure, NFL season may be long over, but next season's action is already well underway. We're talking big trades, new signings, draft order shuffles, you name it. And all this preseason NFL action is easier to enjoy with the official beer of the NFL. So get Bud Light delivered today and enjoy every season projection, every player trade, every coaching change, and draft pick with the clean, crisp taste of Bud Light, the official beer of the NFL. Stock up now for the offseason and enjoy Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. All right, continuing on here, Amanda, into the second quarter, and we're going to start ranking the NFL draft rumors. I don't know. Do you want to just rank? You did say our rank. Do you want to do it on the whiteboard? What do you want to do here?
You know, whatever you prefer. I've got all the tools in my toolkit, but I'm ready for this because I do feel like a lot of this, week before the draft, you start to hear a lot of there's this phone call happening with this team. And now these things that we thought were going to happen are seemingly not at all. And so I want to break down. I really want to jump right into this. And are you ready to talk about the Giants?
Oh, let's do it. I'm excited for this one. Go ahead.
All right. So the Giants have hosted Shadur Sanders for a private workout. Do they really want him? I mean, we just kind of touched upon the fact that we know the Giants have some quarterbacks. We know last year they had plenty of quarterbacks, none of them being a QB1. But do we think that Sanders is going to go this early in the draft? I don't know if this is a rumor that I'm that into.
Yeah, I don't believe this one at all. Like scale of 1 to 10 on like, oh yeah, 1, it's pretty believable. 10, it's like absolutely not. I'm sitting there at like a 9 because I know that, some of the reporters, I think it was Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport came out and said that this had already been scheduled, this private workout. So it wasn't a surprise saying like, oh, come over here. Now I will say, I do believe the Giants are trying to play chess, not checkers, and they are going to make any team believe that they want to go and get Shadur Sanders and say, oh, well, we might be really interested in this guy just for some team like, unfortunately, I'm sorry, the or maybe even the Pittsburgh Steelers to come out and say, well, we don't want you to take him. We're going to put together a beautiful draft package for you and move up to that spot. That's the only thing I'm thinking here is like smoke and mirrors. They're trying to make people believe, make teams and organizations believe that maybe we're going to be on the clock and we're going to take him just so they could get a haul of picks, get out of this pick, and then let someone else have the number 3 overall. That's the only thing I'm thinking.
Yeah. And look, I could see that. It happens in my home league all the time. Look at this beautiful person that I have. Don't you want him? Look, he's over here. Just come send me some nice picks. But the thing that I think of is, you look at their past drafts and part of me is like, are they just kind of starting to sweat and double check before they completely cross him off the list? Because you look back at 2018 when they took Saquon Barkley, but they passed up on guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Last year, they tried to trade up for Drake May. Of course, they ended up with Malik Neighbors, which was a wonderful pick, but then they missed out on guys like Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. So is it that maybe they're also second guessing themselves and like, hey, let's just really cross everything off before we say that we're out on QB? But I do like your theory as well of maybe they're trying to ramp up and get some value out of that 103.
Yeah, not that I think that they'll take it, but just, kind of driving the price up just in case. I had their odds earlier, and I think, it was Abdul Carter with the 3rd overall pick was the favorite, and I believe still is the favorite. So that's the way I think they go. And then just with everything that everyone's been talking about Travis Hunter, like I just really do think that he's probably going to go top 3. If he falls to 4, I believe that's Patriots. Patriots fans would be ecstatic, but I just think that that's how it's going to go. But let's see if they drive the price up because they, do you believe that they have their quarterbacks just really quickly here in Russell Wilson and Jameis? Like, do you think they're okay with going into 2025 and saying, yeah, we're okay with this, like a light, like, we're fine.
I think they're okay enough. Like, yeah, their voice should crackle a little bit when they say they're okay, but I think they're fine enough. And I'm one to speak. Like, I get it, right? But there is one other theory, Kendall, that I've heard, and this one is the one I like the most. It's the idea that the Giants draft 103, they don't go quarterback, but then later they trade up to get Sanders as well. And they do this like 1-2 punch in the first round. And that I find exciting. One, because I love when things start to get chaotic and the phone calls come in and trades start to happen. But that would tell me that they are truly trying to shake things up and really get things done. And I would love that from Malik Neighbors as well.
Ooh, I like that. I've heard the same thing with the Browns too, where they go get Travis Hunter and then all of a sudden they're back and they trade back into the first round to get Shedeur Sanders and they like reunite those two, which would be crazy to see that. But I like the, see, I love these rumors. I love the drama. We're less than a week away from this. So this is going to be fun. All right, let's rank this rumor. This one, when I saw it, was crazy. So there are rumors out there, according to Diana Rossini, that first of all, a current head coach, NFL head coach, believes that Tyler Shuck is the best quarterback in the entire class, but that he is not only maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the entire class, that he is rising up draft boards and could be drafted here in the first round of the NFL draft. Where do you rank this rumor? Do you believe this?
I mean, look, even in that rumor, it said that this head coach who, like, show yourself, give a name, who are you out there? But that he thinks he's better than Cam Ward, who I'm like, okay, yes. So why? What is happening? I'm ranking this on the BS meter, like a high level of BS. While I don't think it's impossible that someone feels that way, at the end of the day, you still have to take into account of how all the other teams are feeling. And are you going to reach at this point in the game? And so it sounds to me, I'm going to say a 9.5 on the BS meter. I don't think that this is going to happen.
Yeah, I put it at like 1,000. I said, if it's who's saying this? If this is it, Tyler Shuck, if this is your mom, I love that for you. But is that who we're believing right now? Because my mom does the same thing. I'm like, I'll believe you if you come out and just say that it was her, maybe your agent. And listen, I respect it too, because they have to do this, right? Agents, you just have to work hard to, again, try and get that draft stock up as much as you can. And it feels like he is the draft darling, I think maybe is the right way to put it, in the final few days leading up to it. So I don't know, Amanda, though. It's crazy to look at some of the betting odds and then thinking about two teams like the Saints and the Steelers, who, if they really need a quarterback, I think he was he invited to the draft? No, he wasn't. No, he's not invited I don't think he's invited to day one, but it's just one of those things where you're like, okay, could this actually happen if they're desperate enough, like the Steelers, the Saints? They could take someone that's not named Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and push one of those guys up.
Yes, but first round, that just, I don't know. I'm crazy. The only thing that kind of like hints in the back of my head here, and I think Peter Overzet wrote about this in the Fantasy Life newsletter, is the idea of, well, nobody really expected what happened with Bo Nix last year. And Sean Payton was like, I'm going to get my guy. So it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just find it to be so unlikely given the fact that he's, about to turn 26 years old. He's coming off of all these injuries and people are saying he's going to be a day 2 kind of guy, potentially round 3. Why would he go so early? Even if somebody does personally value them and think he's one of the higher quarterbacks, I just can't get in on it. I really don't. I don't think they reach like that. Okay. All right. I respect it. Okay. All right. You ready for the next? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, I'm very excited about the Cowboys. I really want to see what they do. But do you think, Kendall, or how much do you think it's BS that they trade away their first round pick this year? I don't listen. It's Jerry, right? So Jerry, as much as we want him to draft a running back, like he could just look us in the eyes and say, yeah, I know we need that, but I don't want to do that here at 12. I want to do something else. I do think that is actually looking around from where they are. 12 is a pretty coveted pick because you could go and get someone, really, if someone really wants a receiver and maybe Carolina didn't go for him, you could still get, a Tet if he's able to fall that far. You could get a really good tight end. We've talked about Tyler Warren. We've talked about Colston Loveland. So there are and quarterbacks here now. So I don't think that this is a rumor that I believe this rumor. I believe that they could look at this and say, you know what, we want to get a little bit of a better haul, especially if they are going to go running back. And they look at their board and they say, well, we can wait till, let's say they could wait till 21, right? Because is that the Steelers? I believe that's the Steelers. So if they're able to do that and Pittsburgh says, you know what, we just have to make the jump. We have
have to go up and get a quarterback because we don't want to wait anymore on Aaron Rodgers. We don't know what our future looks like. They have no one on the depth chart either. So let's make a move with the Dallas Cowboys. I could see them doing that and just saying, you know what? We love Amari and Hampton. We love Henderson. They're not going to get Ashton Jeanty, but we love Ashton Jeanty. Like, they love so many of these guys where they're like, you know what? It's okay. We can get a few more picks and still get our running back. That's what I believe. Do you believe this rumor?
I do, because even if they trade out of their first round pick, it doesn't mean that they're trading out of the first round. Like, that to me is where it really comes in of they might just trade down a couple picks. I think they did it in 2021 where they literally just moved down 2 spots with the Eagles. And so it could be just a situation where they can get a little bit of leverage, like you said, because they know a team wants someone else and they're willing to wait because the draft class at running back is so deep. And like Coach Jean said on the show last week, not just deep, but talented. So they may not be as desperate. So I don't hate this one. I'm going to put a 2 on the meter here. I don't think it's that much BS.
No, I don't either. Wouldn't it be crazy though because I know that they said they're probably not going to trade up, but trading up would be funny because I've mentioned, like, if they really wanted Ashton Jeanty and they wanted to make a splash, first of all, he's not lasting all the way down to where they are at 12. Like, it's just not going to happen. There are too many teams ahead of him, like the Chicago Bears, we've talked about Las Vegas too. A latest mock draft at The Athletic had Ashton Jeanty going 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars recently. So you guys should all go check that out because it was crazy. It would be fun though if Jerry was like, you know what, we do have to win. Let's just trade up and go get Ashton Jeanty. I would kind of love it.
And then wouldn't it be a Jerry Jones move to say, look, we're definitely not moving up, but we might move down, and then they move up? That would be a Jerry Jones move.
Exactly. You're like, Jerry, what is Dallas going to do this year? Are they going to be good? I talk about this with Adam Ronis every Sunday on Sirius XM, and I feel so bad bringing it up because you're like, who's their head coach? Like, what's his name again? Right. Like, do you think they're going to win? Come on.
I mean, look, they have a lot of picks. They have first round, second round, third, but then they have 2 5th round, 2 6th round, 3 7th. They could make things happen. They really could. If they get aggressive, they can make things happen.
Yeah, we're trying to make Dallas Cowboys fans a little bit happier here. So we're trying during the show. That's what we have to do here. All right, before we continue on, guys, let's hear from our friends over at Bud Light.
Hey, you know you're not actually allowed to drink in a beer commercial?
Since when?
You gotta wait till it's done. Oh,
5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Continuing on here, Untitled with Kendall Valenzuela, Amanda, a.k.a. Cooterdoodle, and we are moving right along here to the third quarter, which is crazy again because time flies when you're having fun. We have to, what other prop, by the way? We need to put in a request for another prop. Like, I know we've got the whiteboard, we had the beads just a couple weeks back. We have the wheel. Should we bring the wheel back next week? We need another prop.
And you can just put wide receiver and cornerback in all the slots, and we'll spin it, and we'll see what Travis Hunter is going to be. And that's what you call a segue, baby.
I was gonna say, dang, just run the whole thing. This is why Amanda's here, because she can think of those, and I definitely cannot think of some of those transitions. That was a good one. We are talking about Travis Hunter, though, and I wrote an article last week, couple weeks ago, Amanda, where it was into the Travis Hunter multiverse. And shout out to Dwayne McFarland because he was able to actually get us some projections for 3 teams and different paths that Travis Hunter could take depending on which team he landed on. So it was really fun writing it, and it was really interesting seeing the difference, Amanda, in landing spots and what's great for fantasy football. So let's just start again with the bad, just like we did with Aaron Rodgers when we were talking about Aaron Rodgers with the Saints. I'm sorry. The New York Giants. While they may be hosting Shedeur Sanders and they might say, you know what, we need a quarterback. We can't just do this with Russell Wilson. I can't believe I'm saying that. And Jameis Winston. It feels like the Giants would be, for fantasy football purposes, the worst case scenario because they could actually use a corner because Deonte Banks, 50.3 PFF coverage grade last season, it wasn't good. So they could actually use an upgraded corner. And for us, Amanda, at wide receiver, they've got their guy. They've got the wide receiver one of Malik Neighbors. So if he went there, I could see him, being a part-time wide receiver, like very part-time. But it feels like for the Giants, they'd more need a corner than anything else.
Yeah. And look, I don't hate it for NFL purposes. I like it for the Giants if they make this move, but I hate it for my fantasy team because then I don't get to get excited about Travis Hunter because why am I going to draft a guy that's going to play maybe 20% of the snaps here or something. So, or at least on offense. So yeah, I don't love it. And then there's still questions about, Russell Wilson, is he going to be what they need to get things done? Malik Neighbors is the guy. So it just doesn't excite me. You know what I mean? Like they take him, great for Giants fans. That's going to be wonderful to have him on defense. But as far as fantasy purposes, it's kind of like just a little womp womp.
Yeah, it's not great. Dwayne, when we went and did this, he gave best case fantasy scenario. So a true part-time split down the middle, 50% route participation, 20% targets per route run. But even then, you have 474 yards from Travis Hunter. You have 6.1 fantasy points per game. So this spot almost in my mind makes him undraftable in fantasy. There are some where if you're at the very end of the draft and you say, listen, they're going to have to maybe pick one and maybe they actually like him more as a wide receiver, maybe that's the way you go. But it feels very, very part-time. Even in that 25% route participation role, it gets even worse. 237 yards on the year, 1.7 touchdowns, 3.1 Amanda fantasy points per game. That's what Kyler Murray was giving me. We don't want that. We can't have that in 2025. It's so sad. So that's probably the worst case scenario. I'm going to give you, and I want to know what you think the actual New England Patriots would do if they drafted him. Because this to me was a wild card. They have good corners. They also have Stephon Diggs though, where if you ask some people, they say Stephon Diggs, wide receiver 1. Look at the money, 26 million guaranteed, 69 million over 3 years. Like that's the guy. But they have good corners, good enough corners where they don't necessarily have to fill a huge need. Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis over there with the New England Patriots. So I'm curious for you, do you think Stephon Diggs is wide receiver 1, or if they drafted Travis Hunter, would they actually put him in a bigger wide receiver role?
I mean, look, the Patriots ranked 32nd in wide receiver yards last season. It was the 6th lowest single season mark among any offense since 2020. So they need help at wide receiver, which as far as Travis Hunter purposes, okay, he needs to step in there. Stephon Diggs can't fix the whole problem. We've seen him do great work on the field, but at the same time, I feel like that 1-2 punch is really what Drake May is hopefully what they would be planning to do for him out there. So I don't hate it. My thing with Stephon Diggs is I just think we're going to see some pretty angry tweets if the ball does start going Hunter's way, because we know that Diggs wants to have the limelight and he wants to be the wide receiver 1. So part of me is like, can he share? Sharing is caring. Can you do it, Stephon Diggs?
I just drafted him the other day on Underdog, and I didn't love it. I'm going to be totally honest with you, Stephon Diggs. I was like, Stephon Diggs is here. I kind of like it right now. And then I just thought to myself, unfortunately with the injuries, not to say that we never want injuries to happen, but coming off the one that he did last year, another year older for him as well. So I could see it. So as a part-time receiver in this offense with Dwayne McFarland's projections, 55% targets per route run, 22% 55% route participation. Oh, Amanda, we're getting there. 22% targets per route run, finishing with 504 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6.3 fantasy points per game. That's, in my mind, as a part-time receiver, probably the worst outcome that you could have. Just because they're still taking him back at corner. They're really truly giving him a split. But in my mind, I also say, okay, 55%. If he really does get up to a 90-95% route participation in New England, like that means that he could really be someone that not only Drake May relies on, but someone that could give us really good fantasy outcomes. And I think, to me, they have to look at Drake May and say, his development is so key here. And if they don't get him, and I don't hate the Stephon Diggs signing. I really don't, because that is another weapon for him. But I just don't think you can stop there, right? You need to keep going. And if it's Travis Hunter there, in my mind, you use him more as a wide receiver. Use him where he's needed, and that's a wide receiver with Drake May. Just let him get going.
So potentially draftable later on if he goes to the Patriots as a fantasy. But Giants, you and I, we're both out. We're out fantasy-wise.
Yeah, we're out fantasy-wise. I think the one that we're both going to be in on, potentially, let me give you the Cleveland Browns and the best case scenario here. And this scenario, when we're doing this in the Travis Hunter multiverse, again, you can find this article. The best case scenario, first of all, sorry, Kenny Pickett, it would be having another quarterback, because this is all hinging on Kenny Pickett not being the necessary necessary starter. This was obviously put out before the Joe Flacco signing as well, so take that into consideration. But Amanda, let me give you the numbers that might make you a little bit more excited. So let's say Travis Hunter, full-time wide receiver with the Cleveland Browns, which I could see. You've got Jerry Jeudy there. I understand that he was good last season. You've still got David Njoku. So this is best case scenario, 90% route participation, 23% targets per route run, projected for a potential finish with 1,011 yards, 6.3 touchdowns, 12.6 fantasy points per game. This is best case scenario, it feels like, for Travis Hunter.
You know, it really is at this point. Like you said, we've saw what Jerry Jeudy could do. Granted, that was with Jameis Winston throwing these, 70-yard touchdown bombs down the field. But maybe they bring in somebody else at quarterback. Maybe they draft quarterback. I don't hate this, and I do like the fact that they would be utilizing him in a wide receiver situation, which is what we want for fantasy reasons. Now, Kendall, I do have to give you a stat that nobody's talking about. Okay.
Do it.
This is hot off the press because there is a new Sports Illustrated episode with Travis Hunter. I don't know if you've seen it yet because it very recently dropped on YouTube.
Oh.
And one of the quotes, he's out on a boat fishing. Okay. And this is relevant, I swear. He said that all he wants to do is play football and fish all day. Okay.
Same.
I love that. I think a man that is grounded and knows what he wants is great. So football, fishing all day, that's all we need. Well, I looked it up, Kendall. Do you know whose stadium is the closest to a Bass Pro Shop?
Oh my gosh. Tell me it's the Cleveland Browns.
It's not. It's Gillette Stadium. It's like right outside the parking lot.
Stop.
There's a Bass Pro Shop and there's lakes all around. I was zooming in at all the different water. Now look, they do have the Great Lakes in Cleveland. They're not too far. But I mean, imagine he can go to practice, go to a game, and then just go hit up the Bass Pro Shop in New England and just go out and hit the waters. I feel like he'd be so happy there.
Listen, first of all, this is investigative journalism. This is what we need. This is everything that Amanda brings, which is a lot to this show. I'm just here. I'm just here to do it. So listen, Bass Pro, I've never been into a Bass Pro Shop, by the way. I feel like it's a good time though.
Yes, there are allegedly fish inside. I don't know if that's true, but there's things that he would need to fish, and that's all that matters to me. So I think maybe he would be happier if he was in Gillette Stadium, knowing that that's near, and that might make, happy life, happy wife, happy wide receiver, happy cornerback. I don't know.
I will say our producer Swing did say that there are fish inside Bass Pro Shop. So there you go. He should be. And listen, we wouldn't hate that either. Like, I do not hate the New England Patriots. They're going to let us know, hey, he's going to be more of a receiver. He's going to be more of a cornerback. I don't know if a true split. That's the one thing that's going to be so fun to watch with Travis Hunter. Like, he is this, NFL's Shohei Ohtani, like how they use him in that first year. If they really want him to stick with one role more than the other and say, hey, we need you to hone in on these skills here, and then we'll utilize you as a cornerback later on. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'm really excited to just watch it all unfold. The Shohei Ohtani of the NFL. Come on. That's such a great thing to call him.
And either way, I do like the fact that there's this question mark that isn't because somebody's aging or has, work ethic questions, or maybe they've got a little past. His question mark is just how incredible is he going to be and where are they going to put his talents? That's a fun question mark. So I can't wait to see where he ends up.
Like, he's too good. They're just like, hey, listen, you can play both, and that's like already crazy enough. Which one are you going to be best at? It's probably both. And so we just need to figure out how to best utilize you. Oh, it's a dream come true. So we'll see. Those are the three teams we put out there because they have the top picks too. And we know that Cam Ward is probably going to the Titans. So if you're sitting here thinking we're not talking about other teams, it's just purely because we believe he's not going to make it that far. I don't think he's going to make it past number 4 in the NFL draft. He's just too good. He's going to be best player available on some people's boards, and that's just what it's going to end up as. So that'll be definitely a fun one. Again, you guys can all go check that out, fantasylife.com. Let's continue on, Amanda, with our NFL draft conversations. Let's do worst case scenarios. And I'm not talking Aaron Rodgers going to the New Orleans Saints. We already touched on that one, but this is interesting. And this actually took me a little while to figure out what the worst draft places, the worst draft landing spots could be for some of these rookies. So first of all, let's start off with the one and only Ashton Jeanty. We haven't talked about him recently just because he's so damn good. We know that he's going to be the RB1 of this draft class. I mean, Thor Nystrom just says he's got a better profile than Bijan Robinson coming out. I mean, there are just all these things that are stacked up for Ashton Jeanty to succeed in the NFL. And did you see, by the way, his Players Tribune, his tweet where he was just like, you want to draft me? And I'm like, now I want the Seahawks. They don't even need you, but now I want the Seahawks to draft you. That was such a good Players Tribune. He wrote all of that out, but it was a couple great quotes out of there.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me nervous is he's like, it's tackle football. You know what I'm saying? Draft a guy that they can't tackle. And all I can imagine is like a few months from now, he gets tackled and everybody, is showing. And I'm like, I don't know. I get nervous about things like that. He's going to become a meme. So I hope they keep him safe and he goes to a team that, has a good line to protect him.
Yeah, hopefully not. So this was actually kind of more of a difficult thing to do. This was a little bit more of a difficult experience. So Ashton Jeanty, what do you think the worst case scenario is? The worst team that could draft him? Who would that be for you?
I mean, it's weird because with him, he's such a talent that he could elevate any offense. So I found myself kind of looking, I'm like, well, they suck at this thing, but he could make that better, right? So one thing I looked at was the Jaguars, Jacksonville at 105. I'm looking at Travis Etienne, who didn't do so great last year, had some injuries. Tank Bigsby, who he thought might be a thing, who didn't do so great, scored 5 in 5 games. He only eclipsed 100 yards twice, I think. And you look at them as an offensive team in general, and it wasn't great. They were 21st in points per game. Their passing yards were on average, I think, around 200, 215 yards. Their rushing yards, they were 16th in the league. But he could elevate that. He could open up something that they didn't have before. So as much as I'm like, this offense doesn't excite me, he could make it exciting. He could be the shift, that turns the tide. So what are your thoughts on Jacksonville if they go with him 105? Say he makes it there.
Listen, that's the one thing in the Athletics recent mock, that's where they had Ashton Jeanty going is to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I remember there was a quote only a couple weeks ago from their new head coach, Liam Cohen, saying that they need to fix the run game to better help Trevor Lawrence. So all these pieces, and I'm like, wow. And first of all, it would be amazing for Ashton Jeanty as well, going five overall, because he's trying to it's Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson as the only running backs to be drafted in the top 10 since 2018. So it's one of these things where we know he's immensely talented. And maybe you're right, Amanda. That's why it was so hard to figure out a bad landing spot, because I could tell myself a story and be like, oh, the Jets, that might stink. But then I'm like, no, because he would be the guy. He'd be the RB1 and Breece Hall would probably be on the move. And it was the same thing for he would never last till 17. But the Cincinnati Bengals, I thought the same thing. I was like, well, if he goes there, he's going to be so good and he's going to be the RB1. That offense is going to run through him. But now I just have to think of Chase Brown. All my Chase Brown shares are going to go away. So I actually, Jacksonville, probably not the sexiest pick, right? So that's the one thing we can say here. If it's a worst case scenario in Jacksonville, and maybe we say, hey, this is a new head coach. We don't know how well he's going to do. We don't know how well Trevor Lawrence is going to be coming off his injury. So that could maybe pull him down a little bit. But I just think no matter where he lands, he's going to be good. That's the one thing with Ashton Jeanty.
Right. And the only thing I think of in worst case scenarios is in his player, in that quote he said yesterday, where he said, I'm coming to your franchise to do what Saquon did with the Eagles. I don't think Jacksonville's that team for you, buddy. So I think it would be a worst case scenario for Jeanty to end up in Jacksonville, because I don't think they're going to be a Super Bowl team this year. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that one. That one could be tough. But it's just not sexy. It's just not a sexy pick. But I'd still be drafting him. I think he would still, if he was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, we'd still be taking him at the end of the first round anyway, because he's that good. So I agree.
All right. Let's say he doesn't go 106 where everyone thinks he is to the Raiders. Let's say he falls, Kendall. Let's say he goes to the Jets. What are your thoughts there? How comfy are you feeling if he goes in a team that wouldn't make sense, right, with Breece Hall there?
Yeah, I would. Again, I think he would. I think he would thrive. To be totally honest, I think that team's going to be a run-heavy team anyway because with Justin Fields there. So I think Aaron Glenn. They know that hey, we've got Fields. We need to get better on the run game. He mentioned a committee, not even a two-headed monster. It's a 1-2-3 punch was the quote for the Jets right now. So actually, I don't necessarily hate the Jets in this scenario, but again, it would be more. I don't hate it for Ashton Jeanty. I do hate it for Breece Hall. Like the Breece Hall dreams might be put to bed here. So that's the one thing where I'm like, oh, with the Jets, I don't hate it, but it's not the sexiest pick. I have to know, okay, we've talked about Shedeur Sanders a lot. What is the worst landing spot to you for him? I put question marks on the Giants. I put question marks on the Saints. I put question marks on potentially the Raiders. What's the worst case scenario for Shedeur Sanders in fantasy where he's drafted on Thursday night?
Well, I didn't think this was the worst case scenario of him going to the Saints 109 until I saw, on your Twitter, Kendall, where you posted this wonderful tweet about how the Saints have drafted quarterbacks in 4 of the last 5 drafts, and they are 0-8 in their starts. And so I think the Saints would be potentially the worst case scenario for Sanders to go to, especially with all this drama that we just talked about, the fact that, Derek Carr is going to be lingering and causing cap issues, but Deion Sanders sounds like he wants him there. I don't know. When I read that, Kendall, I immediately took out my pen and paper and wrote a beautiful letter, sealed it, and sent it straight to HR. So I'm sorry to say that you might get reprimanded soon, but
that's why I have a meeting on my calendar today. Dang, thanks, Amanda.
But it's like, as a fan, I'm like, okay, maybe this can fix things, but can it? Like, we're not. I'm losing hope after literally this one sentence that you posted online.
I'm sorry. To be fair, like the names, like those, there's two things with that tweet, right? I was most of all just trying to troll, and I know you saw it, so I was like, perfect, it worked. And those guys that they've been drafting though have been outside the first round, so that's the one thing there. And you have to include Spencer Rattler, who had 6 starts, and I believe Jake Haener also had a start in there, so there's 7 right there. But it hasn't been good. Let's just say that for the Saints. I don't hate it but I'm someone that believes that Shedeur Sanders is going to perform well in the NFL, and there are just some people that don't believe that he has the athleticism, that he is going to be good enough to be an NFL start, like a franchise quarterback for the long run. And that's the other thing with, the Giants. While it might not be great for fantasy football because he might not start right away, maybe he beats them out. It's just the thing of if teams believe that he needs to be behind a veteran quarterback for a little while, let him get his feet under him, and then you let him in. But with the Saints, he's starting right away. If this Derek Carr injury is real and they have to put him out there, he's starting right away. So I don't necessarily, again, I believe in Shedeur Sanders, so I don't hate any of these because I do believe that he can go in and be a really sound QB1 for a team. But it just depends on if teams like the Giants, they say, oh, well, we're going to let him, sit a couple weeks and learn, or it's the Saints and he starts right away. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I
hate the Giants. I hate the Giants because you can't have that many quarterbacks and tell me that the coaches are going to be committed to any single one of them. And that's just not fair to any guys on the roster. So that would probably be the one that I hate the most. Especially at 103, you got to go Hunter. It's the best player available. The only way I'm happy at Sanders going to the Giants is if they do that scenario where they draft 103 and then they trade up to get Sanders. That's it. Right. That's the only way I think it works.
Okay, let's go over to Tetairoa McMillan over here and think about he's the wide receiver 1 for almost all people, especially with Thor, not counting, of course, Travis Hunter. So he is the wide receiver 1. What would be the worst case landing spot for you when you're looking at Tetairoa McMillan? He was in the latest mock by Thor Nystrom. He was drafted by the Cowboys, which I don't hate. So I'm curious which teams you looked at for him.
If I'm talking worst case scenario for me, and we kind of touched upon it already, but Cardinals, with Kyler Murray, if he's going to be running more, you already have Marvin Harrison Jr. there. We saw where the floor is absolutely abysmal for Murray if he does what he did in 2024 again. So that one makes me extremely nervous. Hopefully he's not even falling that far. Cardinals are 116. And so you're saying this latest mock, he's going like 112-ish. So hopefully he doesn't make it that far. I do like the Cowboys, but if he were to fall and end up in Kyler Murray's hands, that makes me extremely nervous.
I had the same thought process, more because in the same way of thinking that, okay, if Kyler Murray isn't going to elevate in 2025, that brings the whole team ceiling down. And you already had Trey McBride, who had a phenomenal season. Even though he only had 2 touchdowns, I mean, they gave him that big contract. They were like, here you go. And then you have Marvin Harrison Jr., who, for all it's worth, I do believe is going to be closer to the Marvin Harrison Jr. that we were expecting him to be coming out of college, instead of the one that we saw last year. But a lot of guys in there, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but for Tetairoa McMillan, you kind of want him to go to a place like the Dallas Cowboys, where you say, okay, you know, he's the clear number 2 in that offense, or even somewhere else where they say, hey, Carolina Panthers, like, it might, again, not be the sexiest pick, but he is going to be the guy over there, and we know he's going to get peppered with targets. With the Arizona Cardinals, he's not necessarily going to have that, so that's the same thing. I also, sorry, Jaguars fans, I put Jaguars ? I said, do they need that? But maybe could be good there. But I agree with you in the Cardinals. They've been mocked, at least earlier in these last couple months, they were mocked to get a wide receiver in the first round, which blew my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's like, at some point, what are you trying to fix? And then what are you just putting Band-Aids over issues that need to be addressed? So yeah, Kyler Murray, figure it out, start running a little bit more. I don't think the problem is the wide receiver room. So that would be my worst case, 116 there. And just to put it out into the universe, Cowboys would be great.
Cowboys, Seahawks. Hello, Seahawks. What are you doing? Not drafting an offensive lineman. I know that for sure. Let's finish off with Tyler Warren and what you think, you know, he could do. What his worst case scenarios? Amanda, is it bad that the first team that came into my mind was the Colts? Even though they've been mocked there, even though they've been mocked there the whole time, which is fine, because I do think that he's going to be a player that no matter what is going to elevate, and the Colts need someone that's going to help them win games now. And I don't necessarily think it's more him. I think it's more Anthony Richardson, and if he continues to just be a not decent passer, that's going to hurt him a little bit, maybe.
I mean, look, to go back to Thor's 500 rankings that just came out, Tyler Warren, of all the rookies, he's the 4th rookie on the ranking off the board, and he's above guys like Tetairoa McMillan. So I think that he kind of has that Ashton Jeanty superpower in that wherever he ends up, I don't hate it. And I think he can elevate the offense. I do agree. The Colts scare me because, again, we have this same issue where what quarterback is it going to be? And then do they commit to that quarterback? Is it going to be Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson? Both of them had some pretty abysmal stats in 2024 that aren't making either one exciting as a fan. But could Tyler Warren be that guy that maybe he gets peppered with a ton of catches and can do, you know, some Trey McBride stuff on the field? So I don't like it, but at the same time, he is a guy like Jeanty that wherever he ends up, I do think he elevates the offense, and it does excite me. And you know I'm going to draft him. You know I'm going to draft him no matter where he ends up, Kendall.
I had no doubt in my mind. And yeah, that's Tyler Warren. It's just nitpicky, right? Because it's just like, I agree that maybe anywhere he lands, the 49ers are interesting because that's where Thor has him mocked the most in the most recent mock draft at fantasylife.com. And I don't hate it, again, because I do think Tyler Warren, you know, we're going to get one of these guys, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, I'll throw, you know, a Harold Fannin Jr. One of these guys is going to be, you know, the Sam Laporta, the Brock Bowers, maybe not to the same extent, but we're going to get good production out of one of those guys. And so Tyler Warren just seems so good that where he lands, you know, we just have to say, okay, he's going to be able to command targets. Even if it is the Colts, you know, he could be the answer there. The 49ers are weird because I'm like, George Kittle, what do we know? But Brandon Ayuk, maybe he's not good for week one. I don't know. That maybe it's the 49ers that could be the worst case scenario where we look around and say, well, what do we do with George?
I know. And I have no doubt in my mind that there's going to be something that no one has predicted happening in the first 5 picks, some crazy trade, and everything's going to be out the window. And it's going to be, no one's going to know what to do. It's going to be frantic, and I'm going to eat it up. I'm going to love it.
I love it. I love it. All right. So that's the buzzer. I will say we were just talking today just because that's what best friends do is we were just talking. So no overtime, but we'll have to talk scared money don't make money next week for the NFL draft. I think that's going to be key. Appreciate everyone though hanging out with us here today. The Thor 500 is live. So make sure you go and check that out. FantasyLife.com. You've got the big board that you need to see right before the NFL draft. And while you're there, you can subscribe to our newsletter in your inbox 100% of the time, 100% free. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We'll see you next week.